Hello, everybody. So we've got some news. We know what Saylor did. Green dot, big orange dot means that he actually bought green. He bought dollar. He bought 2.19. Well, he increased. He bought $700 million, $747 million of dollars, and he increased the dollar reserve, the USD reserve, to $2.19 billion. So that's what he did. So he increased the cash buffer, which is this green part right here that you see in their grander strategy for the company. He increased that buffer to 32 months. So we now have 32 months of cash coverage of the dividends of the preferred. The preferred dividend have cash backing those dividends, and so that means that you're increasing the credit worthiness of all of the preferreds because there's now cash sitting on the balance sheet, and so hopefully the credit agencies should see that positively. And my big hope, of course, is that he uses this cash to implement a cash secured put strategy on Bitcoin and earn money writing puts. And so that way you would create revenues, you would create positive revenues and perhaps a positive trajectory of revenues, which would be looked at kindly from the rating agencies and kindly even from the indices who are trying to say that strategy is not a real company, that they don't have revenue. With that cash pile, you could use that to generate revenues specifically by writing puts. So anyways, let's go talk about the stock price here. I think the stock price, of course, is heavily underperforming Bitcoin today. We should be up more than 2%, but we're not. We're only up 0.5%. Bitcoin doing okay this morning. It recovered last night. Surprisingly, right, for a Sunday, but it somehow recovered last night. I'm not sure we're going to see much volume over the holiday season. What I do want to say about strategy is that I think the tourists are gone now. I think people who own the stock at 165, they are long-term believers at this point. I think most of the tourists are gone. I think, as we approach the end of the year, a lot of people who bought at higher levels, at 400, 300, they took their loss, they move on to something else. So I think we're seeing a reset in the shareholder base. And like I said, at this point, Saylor probably doesn't care that much anymore about, you remember the whole mess of August where, people had convinced Saylor to stop doing the common ATM, even though I was always very pro common ATM, right? And I'm very happy to see that he's back doing the common ATM. The only sad thing is that he's doing the ATM at 1.09, right? And in August, he could have done the ATM at what? We were at 1.4 or 1.3, something like that. So Saylor should have never listened to the crowd. He should have just kept doing the ATM. But he didn't. He listened to the crowd, and that did not work out. And so if you're not familiar as to why the ATM actually earns a yield for strategy, I recommend this video that I created now 8 months ago. It's a 5-minute video where I explain how dilution actually creates a yield. And this is something that most people don't want to spend even 5 minutes understanding. How dilution creates a yield. Dilution actually creates a yield because you're increasing the black hole of the company. You are selling new shares at a price higher than the value of the Bitcoin on the balance sheet. It's like selling $1 for $1.09. You're selling $1 for $1.09. So you're earning a 9% yield on the issuance of new shares. So you're accreting 0.9. It's not very good. I would much rather see him accrete 0.3 like he would have in August. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is right now. Saylor, I think, is now back to thinking for himself, and coming up with these better strategies. Stretch reacted positively today to the cash on balance sheet. We were at 99, and of course midday we dropped back down again. Strike is the preferred that I consider to be the best preferred out there because you have a perpetual call option in there for 10 strike for one share of MSTR when MSTR reaches $1,000. So I like strike a lot because you have that upside in that perpetual call option. And, call options are risky because of the time risk, because you're trying to time when MSTR will reach a certain price. And that's very risky. A lot of people got burned buying options. This is why I love strike, because strike has a perpetual call option in it. So there's no expiration in the call option of strike. So if I were interested in the preferreds and I wanted exposure to strategy, I would definitely go with strike. And I own a little bit of strike, but most of my bag is MSTR. MSTR is now my third biggest position because it dropped much more than HIMS, and Tesla is now in the stratosphere. It's funny, I should really be a Tesla channel at this point. Tesla breaking new all-time highs today. But anyways, make no mistake, I am very bullish on MSTR, very bullish on Saylor, and I think Saylor has gotten rid of the tourists in the stock price at this point. Now the next step for me, the thing that I would like him to do, and I'd like him to see do, is activate the cash pile. Do something with that cash pile. Is it going to be something as simple as buying short-dated treasuries and earning 3%? That's not very good, but he could do that. I mean, he would, in my view, he would have to do that. It's not like how many banks do you need to park more than $2 billion of cash? Do you need to have 30 banking relationships? How many banks do you need to park that much cash? No, he's going to buy T-bills with it, at the very least, I would think. But I would much rather see him write some puts on Bitcoin, because he's interested in buying Bitcoin anyways. So he could write puts, say 10% lower than the current price. And I calculated, this was for my video yesterday, I calculated that if you write puts at a conservative 10% lower than whatever Bitcoin's trading at every month, that's equivalent to a 27% yearly yield. So I would like to see him write puts on that cash bag, write some puts. And this is what Metaplanet is doing. This is what Mara is doing. A lot of miners are doing that. Yeah, sure. I don't want to see him write calls on the Bitcoin bag, because that'd be really risky. But writing puts on the cash, I think, is a win-win. Win for strategy and a win for the shareholders, because you're either earning more cash to buy Bitcoin, or you're getting to buy Bitcoin at a cheaper price with cash that's just sitting on the balance sheet, losing value to devaluation and currency printing, right? Which is going to happen like crazy come May 2026 when we get Mr. Dove at the Fed. So I'm bullish as ever on strategy. I think the 32 months of coverage is absolutely insane. The market should start noticing that, but then again, it's the winter break. It's the Santa season, so nobody really cares about the market right now. And the market, I expect to be sleepy over the next 8 days, let's call it. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. Hoping you were entertained. Please please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.